We didn't do well on our portfolio assignments, and part of the reason is you didn't do them the way that you were taught to do them. So in some instances you were flat out wrong. In other instances, you didn't do what the point of the portfolio assignments is, which is to illustrate that you've learned how to apply what we've learned in class to real life situations. So just this once, I'm going to allow you to redo the first 3 portfolio assignments, and you can get back half the credit of the points that I've taken off. So right here, I'm going to just give you a similar example to go by to show you what I'm looking for, and more importantly, to figure out how to do it correctly. On portfolio assignment 1, getting away from what I actually asked you to do, let's pretend that here Miss Dabney wants to do some supplemental income. So I'm going to make a pizza cart. And on my pizza cart, I don't want to have to deal with change. So I want the final price of my pizzas to be $7 even. Well, I have to pay sales tax. Sales tax in Tennessee is 9.75%. So for every piece of pizza I sell, I have to send 9.75% of the selling price to the government. I need to know how much the pizza needs to cost before I add tax to have a final price of $7. Sales tax. Sales tax is never subtracted, ever. You don't go to a cash register and have sales tax subtracted. Sales tax is always an addition. In the notes for section 3, the way I explained it is, you start with 100%, which is your base price, and we have to add 9.75% to it. That makes a total of 109.75 as a percent. Now I'm going to want to use that number, and I don't use a number that's a percentage. I have to change it to decimal form, which is 1.0975 when I move my decimal point over 2 places. Now I worry about the $7. If I wanted to charge $7 before tax, if that was a before number, I would multiply it times this 1.0975. That's not what I'm doing. I want that to be the after price. After prices get divided by my percentage. And if I take $7 and divide it by 1.0975, I'm really charging $6.38 for my pizza. And then when I add the 9.75% tax to it, that gives me a final price of $7. This scenario here is how you do all the problems on portfolio assignment 1. So let's talk about portfolio assignment 2. This is where you're looking at the consumer price index. There's really only 2 computations that I've asked you to do. The rest of those questions are kind of fluff. But I'll compute mine. I was born in 1964. In 1964, the consumer price index was 31.0. 2016, the consumer price index was $240. Was 240.0. To find the inflation rate, that is the relative change in the consumer price index. This is in your section 5 notes. To find the relative change, first I have to find the absolute change, which if you did anything, that's what you did, but that's only half the problem. So if I start in 1964 and I go to 2016, the consumer price index went up. That means I need to subtract these numbers in the order that will give me a positive answer, positive signifying an increase. When I find the relative change, I take the answer that I've got and I divide it by the number that came second in the subtraction. Now I want to carry this out to 4 decimal places. That is not my percentage. I have to move my decimal point over 2 places. The consumer price index has changed, by 674.19%. That's your inflation rate. Rate is the relative change. Now I asked you to find something that was around when you were born. I asked you to find the price of it today. Then I asked you to use the consumer price index to figure out how much it should have cost back when you were born. If you have the price today, the way you convert it to the year you were born, today's consumer price index, or as far as we're concerned, close enough for today, is the 240. The top is the year you were born. Do that math. That's how much it should have cost in the year you were born. Let me explain something else to you. When it says look on the internet and see if you can find any indication of the real price when you were born, I can't find it is not an acceptable answer. You might as well leave it blank. If you can't find the price of something that was around the year you were born or any indication of it, either plan on losing those points or pick something else. Because I can't find it doesn't indicate to me how hard or how little you actually Googled, and I'm not going to Google it just to see if I can find it. Portfolio assignment 3, you were supposed to use the cost of living index I gave you. If I look on the website, a mathematician, this is depressing, makes $105,600. Boy, did I pick wrong. If I want to prorate that for Johnson City, I need to show the consumer price index formulas. I'm not going to take your numbers and look up the formula, and for how many people? I think I've got 68 students. Do the math. That's why I ask you to show work, so I can see if you've done the math correctly. If I want to prorate this for working in Johnson City, this, oops, sorry about that. Let me erase. This salary, this is for the entire U.S., the median salary. That makes it my reference number, which makes the bottom 100. The composite cost of living for Johnson City is 86.7. That's the formula that I used to prorate my salary for Johnson City, which means for this area I could expect to make $91,555.20. Pick another city. I don't care if you really want to go there or not. It's a math problem. I picked Minneapolis. I like it, Minneapolis. Minneapolis, notice, is a city. I didn't say I wanted to go to Minnesota. California is not a city. There are many cities in California. I need to know which one you picked. Hawaii is not a city. I don't know which city in Hawaii you picked if you just write down Hawaii. Now, when I go to problem number 5 and it asks me to prorate my salary for Minneapolis, I use my Johnson City salary. Well, can't seem to write anymore. I use my Johnson City salary. This is Johnson City, so the number that goes on the bottom is the index for Johnson City. The top number is the number for Minneapolis. Which means in Minneapolis, my salary would have to be $117,216 to be able to live there. 6, you want to find Johnson City rent. Either what you're paying or just look it up in a newspaper or Craigslist. Your Johnson City rent, there is a housing column that'll give you the Johnson City Housing Index. Up on top, I would have the Minneapolis housing number. And for number 7, I would do the same thing except for rent, I'm talking about groceries. There is a grocery column. So I'll let you figure those out for yourself. Now, if you want to redo this, please show all these steps. I'm not going to do the math. I want to see this, and I'm going to assume if you did that, you can push the buttons correctly. Now, I want to see the answer, because I can tell from looking at this whether this is a reasonable answer. But show the formulas, show the answer, show where it came from, because every one of you has a different set of numbers. I can't go through and compute all these for any reasonable amount of grading. So do these, resubmit them. I will reopen the Dropbox. Pay attention to the due date. It'll be 2 weeks from this past Tuesday. And if you have any questions, please ask me.